All right, everyone. Welcome to the Money Revamp Bootcamp. I'm so excited that you're here today. Honestly, I've been looking forward to tonight for a very long time, for a few weeks at the very least. And I'm so glad that we're actually here together today. If this is the first time you're connecting with me, whether it's virtually or the first time you're hearing my voice or seeing my face, I am Yoandi, and I'll do a formal introduction as we progress. But the first thing that I want to do is actually say a big thank you. I don't take the fact that you're here with me tonight for granted, right? You could be anywhere else. You could be with your kids, you could be with your family, you could be doing work, you could be catching up on other things, but you're here with me today. And so I really just want to say thank you. And I want to celebrate you as well, because not many people are brave enough to actually take the step towards seeking financial confidence or really feeling calm and peace when it comes to their money, getting organized when it comes to their money. So I really want to celebrate you for taking that step, because definitely it's not something that a lot of people would accomplish, would do. And so I just want to set up the expectation for the next 7 days that we're going to be spending together. I believe that when you signed up, you had expectations, you had things that you had in mind, questions that you have, or maybe challenges, or maybe things are actually okay when it comes to money, but you're the type of woman who isn't comfortable with the status quo. You're always looking to do better, whether it's with your finances, whether it's with your health, whether it's with your relationships. And maybe this season you are looking to do better when it comes to your money. And so I just want to set up the expectations going into the next 7 days with you. I can promise that by the end, you will discover one thing, that one single thing that's keeping you from feeling at peace with your finances. I'm going to share some of the experiences that I have had personally and with some of the women that I have come across. And the thing that seems to keep coming up, that once we address, brings about a sense of peace when it comes to money. You're going to learn what a lot of women actually ignore, but when they address this thing, it actually leads to a boost in confidence when it comes to their money. You're also going to have a practical approach to dealing with stress related with money. A lot of us, I'm sure at some point, have had a sense of worry or uncertainty when it comes to our finances, but by the end of the 7 days together, you'll actually have a practical step-by-step approach to dealing with that stress. And then the part that I'm most excited about, I know that there are lots of people tuning in from around the world, but I myself, I'm based here in Canada, and I've been here for over 20 years at this point, and I've seen a lot of recurrent mistakes when it comes to money, specifically here in Canada, not only in our generation, but the generation ahead of us. And so I plan to bring a lot of those secrets, those insights to our conversation. And this is one session that I'm very excited about. So by the end of the week that we have together, and I believe these concepts will also apply to you if you're in the United States as well. But the secrets to financial success as a professional woman living here in Canada. And so this is a boot camp, right? This is the Money Revamp Boot Camp. And me personally, I've been knocking on the door of the Fit Fam for the past, I would say, 5 or 6 years, if not more. But for some reason, they won't let me in. I don't know why. At the end of the day, though, I love to draw analogies between exercise and money, right? There's always that theme that runs between being healthy, being fit, whether it's physically fit or financially fit. And at the end of the day, it comes to habits. It comes to consistency. And so although money might seem like this overwhelming thing that we have to manage, I mean, all of us at some point have to manage our money. And many times, even though we are highly intelligent women, highly accomplished, We are high achieving women. For some reason, this matter of money can seem very daunting, very overwhelming, kind of like going to the gym for the first time and you have all these machines and, there are people who are doing bench presses and all these things. And you're like, where do I even start? But I like to say that I simplify the language of money so that it can be accessible to you and so that you can also start to build on that consistency, build on those habits that will eventually lead you to feeling financially fit, confident, and at peace and calm when it comes to your money. And so as we get ready to dive into day one of the boot camp, I want to address some questions that might be at the top of your mind. First of all, why money? Why? I'll talk a little bit more about my background, but one of the questions that I get is, why is a medical doctor talking so much about money? And like I said earlier, I've just seen too many people make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And not only that, I've also seen people take advantage of people like you, people like me, because we're not equipped with the knowledge. And then when I started to learn more about money myself, when I started to take my courses, get my certifications, it's just how I am. I can't keep information like this to myself. If I see something that is changing my life, it's a compulsion for me to share. And I feel like as we've grown up, many of us in various types of households, money wasn't necessarily a topic of conversation, right? And particularly in my household, we never talked about money. We never talked about money. So I grew up with a mindset like, well, it's just money. It doesn't matter. And by the time that I started to make my own, I started to get build my own family, I'm like, this thing really does matter. And the sooner that I get a handle of it, the better. And so, yes, money is somewhat of a controversial topic to some people. A lot of us aren't comfortable talking about money, but I really, really want to encourage us to get comfortable talking about money, right? So that when we know better, we do better. And then there's this issue of wealth, right? The name of my company is Her Wealth Grows. And when people hear wealth, automatically, I don't know, maybe you're like me, where when I used to hear wealth, I used to think of multimillionaires with their yachts and their expensive outfits and their fancy cars. That word wealth just sounds so fancy and so luxurious, right? But when I speak of wealth, it goes far beyond money. It goes far, far beyond cash. It goes far beyond the dollars in your bank account. When I talk about wealth, I'm speaking to a state of being. I'm speaking to peace of mind. I'm speaking to options. I'm speaking to flexibility. I'm speaking to freedom, the freedom to actually do what you are called to do what you are designed to do, because you're no longer tied to what my paycheck is saying, what my bank account is saying, sort of that holistic peace of mind that comes with having that confidence and that calm when it comes to money. Not necessarily because I'm sure there are many people who have lots of money in their bank account, but they aren't wealthy, they don't have peace. Whereas there are people who have a modest amount in their bank account, but they have all the freedom, the peace, the flexibility that money could buy. And so this for me is also key, because I've seen time and time again where if you are an immigrant like me, you leave your country, you leave the comfort of your community, and then you come to a country like Canada only to feel trapped, only to feel like there's a weight on you, only to feel like you are constrained. And so part of my mission is to help women like you get better with their money, get to that point of feeling calm and at peace and confident, so they can have access to wealth. So not just money in the bank, but peace of mind. And then why are you here today? I know why I'm here today. I believe that this is part of my purpose, is to use information that I've been able to access, to simplify it, to make it accessible to people who may not necessarily have the time or access to this information, and to share it. So that's why I'm here today. And I want you to reflect on why you are here today. I want you to reflect on why you have taken the step to actually take this money matter a lot seriously than most people would. What is your motivation? What has led you to this point? And this is something that I want you to reflect on as we continue with the sessions today and move on into the rest of the week. Just looking at the comments, Lucia is laughing at me. I'm sure it was my Fit Fam comment that sparked that. And yes, the piece is everything for me. It's everything for me too. Believe me, it's everything for me too. And so as a brief introduction, my name is Yoandi. I am the founder and CEO of Her Wealth Grows. It's a company that I founded. And the mission of the company is really simple. It is to help women really stop losing sleep at night. So I simplify the language of money. I teach women how to build and form money habits so that they can go from a place where maybe they're budgeting their money, they're earning an income, they've tried all the spreadsheets and the apps, but they're not actually building wealth. And like I said, building wealth, yes, it involves things like investing and increasing your net worth, but it's also accessing that piece that we talked about. Professionally, I am, like I said, a medical doctor. My current practice is in psychotherapy, so mental health, and I'm also a certified financial literacy educator. And so to give you an overview of what we're going to be doing over the next 7 days, today is day one. Today is where we get to do, I mean, I think that all the days are fun, but today is where we get to do some dreaming, doing some imagining, right? We are going to be designing your destination, your financial destination, where it is that you see yourself in the future. We're going to then pinpoint your present position, right? It's kind of like when you go to the mall, right? When you go to the mall and you're trying to get from where you are to a particular store and you don't want to waste time going round and round in circles, you go to one of those maps and they say, you are here. And from where you are, you can start charting your course to where you want to be. So pinpointing your present position is going to be important because when you know where you're starting, you know the steps that you need to take to get to your destination. Then on day 3, we're going to outline your plan, right? Your plan are the step-by-step things that you need to do in order to achieve that confidence, that calm, and that peace that we're talking about. Then we're going to smarten your goals. I'm sure many of you may have already heard of the terminology or the acronym SMART when it comes to your goals. So we're going to be reviewing that when it specifically comes to your financial goals. We're going to be talking about overcoming your obstacles. I personally believe that, yes, there is power in thinking positively. There is power in hoping for the best, wishing for the best, and planning for the best. But I also believe that there's a lot of power in actually thinking about what may get in the way of your success and planning proactively for that. On day 6, we're going to be talking about building better money habits. And I'm going to really simplify a process. I'm going to teach you a strategy that will make building habits, not just for money, but for every area of your life, very simple. And then on day 7, it's going to be a masterclass with question and answer. And this is when I'm really going to do a deep dive into how to be successful financially as a professional woman here in Canada. So any questions so far? Any questions so far before we get into the meat of today? The daily sessions aren't going to take too much of your time because, like I said, I know that you are very busy women. So I'm going to do some teaching, do some talking, and then we're going to talk about some quick assignments that you're going to do ahead of tomorrow. So day 1, design your destination. I love this quote. I really love this quote by Yogi Berra, which says, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. And so before COVID, right, I really enjoy traveling. I should say even before kids, actually, because, you know, traveling with kids is a whole different story, right? But when I was a single, childless when I was still single and still childless, I didn't have kids, I would travel with one of my really good friends. And then we would go to places, and even with my husband, before we started to have kids, we would also travel to places like Mexico, Jamaica, Cuba. We've been to Dominican Republic, South Africa, and there were still so many places. In fact, all the places on this list, for the most part, are places that I would still love to go to. But at the end of the day, you know, when kids come, you have to plan more around them. Of course, financially, it's not as easy to just get up and go. We're thankful for them, but the truth is that, you know, things do change. But at the end of the day, when we talk about destinations, you don't just get on a plane, go to the airport, get on a plane, and then hope for the best, right? That's just not how it works. You have to know where you're going. You buy the ticket, right? You check the weather, you look for a place to stay, right? And you're more intentional about your destination. And it's the same, not just with our money, but anything else in our lives, right? But because we're talking about money today, the first step in getting to that place of calm and confidence is actually knowing where you're going. What is your destination? What does financial calm look like to you? What does financial peace look like to you? What does financial confidence look like to you? Because first of all, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what that destination looks like, you might end up in a place you don't even recognize. And on top of that, how will you even know when you've arrived? How will you know when you're on the right track if you don't have a destination? And so today we're going to design a destination. And I really don't want you to fall into the trap of designing a destination based on what you see around you. That's one of the many mistakes that I see women make, is that instead of really tapping into who they are at the core, instead of tapping into what their own desires are, they end up looking around and seeing, okay, well, this person has this or that person is doing that. And they design their destination based on that. And I really want you to resist the temptation of doing that. Because, you know, there's an analogy that says that you have to be very careful when you're climbing a ladder. So if you have a ladder that's leaning up against the wall, imagine a really, 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 really tall ladder. And that ladder, maybe it's a corporate ladder, maybe it's aspirations or ambitions that you have, and it's leaning up against a wall. And at the top of the wall is that ambition you're working towards. And you spend all this time climbing up and working hard and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until you finally get up to that ladder. Maybe it takes you even years to get up there. And then you get up and you realize, oh my goodness, this is not the wall that I wanted to climb. This is not the wall that I don't even want to be up here. Yet you've spent all this time climbing up this ladder. It happens to us, but at the end of the day, if you know where you're going to know when the ladder that you're climbing up or the steps that you're taking are leading you in a different direction. And so I say all that to say that don't fall into the temptation of looking around and using other people as your benchmark when it comes to financial success. I'm not saying you shouldn't be inspired. Of course, look around for inspiration, but there's a difference between inspiration and comparison. You can tell when you're feeling inspired, and you can also tell when you're feeling like you're comparing. I always say that comparison doesn't leave you feeling good. So say you're scrolling on social media, or maybe you've gone to visit a friend recently and you leave their home. Maybe they just bought a beautiful home, and you leave and you start to feel like your self-confidence has been destroyed, or you start to doubt your own ability, or you start to doubt your own course of action. That comes from a place of comparison, and it's not healthy. It's not productive. In fact, it can cause you to veer off your course. It can cause you to derail because you've taken attention off of your own path. Inspiration, on the other hand, leaves you feeling good. It leaves you feeling, well, if she can do it, so can I. It leaves you feeling optimistic. It leaves you feeling hopeful. So there's nothing wrong with looking around for inspiration, but we have to be very, very careful that we're not looking around and comparing ourselves to someone else. There's a quote that I love to repeat over and over again, which is comparison is the thief of joy. And that's so true. Imagine you are in your own home and you love your home, and maybe it's modest, maybe it's not as brand new, maybe it's not as fancy. And then you go to someone else's home and they have all the upgrades, right? And then all of a sudden you start to feel, oh my goodness, my home isn't as lovely as I thought it was. You've allowed comparison to steal your joy, and it's something that we really need to guard ourselves against. Now, dreaming is something that, as someone who is just fascinated with psychology, with the way the mind works, of course, I have to touch on some brain science here. And so the image to your left is of a PET scan, and PET scans are modalities that we use in neuroscience to actually see the function of the brain, how the brain functions. And so what they tend to do, what the scientists tend to do, the experimenters will tend to do is they'll put people in certain kinds of scenarios. Maybe they'll show them a picture of a wild animal, or they'll show them a picture of a baby crying, or they'll show them a picture of a couple who are in love. And then they hook them up to these PET scans to actually see which areas of the brain light up. And this is how we know which parts of the brain are connected to emotions like fear and love, which parts of the brain are connected to memory, right? And then the picture to your right is one of my favorite perfumes, which is Miss Dior. And the reason I put that there is I remember many, many, many years ago, I wasn't using this perfume at that time, but my sister was probably, I have two sisters. One of them was probably about 6 or 7 years old at the time. And she said, Yoandi, every time I smell this particular smell, I immediately think of you. I immediately think of you. I immediately think of this day and that day. And then she starts to recall events, right? And isn't it so interesting how something as simple as a scent, right? Or even a song. Have you had the experience where you hear a song and all of a sudden you're transported to a specific point in time? It's so amazing how that works. And that's because our brains are very active when it comes to our imagination. In fact, studies have shown that our brains can't really tell the difference between what's a vivid imagination and what's real, right? And so a lot of that comes into play when we start to do things like overcome fear, like fear of facing our finances, for example. When you start to imagine yourself in a position where you are financially calm, where you are confident, when you start to feel what it would feel like, when you start to imagine what it would feel like, your brain actually starts to light up as if it's already happened, as if it's already true. And what that does is it propels you forward. It keeps you going, taking those steps in the right direction. And so, yes, we're talking about money, but the way that I love to think about money, the way I love to teach about money is connecting it to human behavior, because I believe that when you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, you're more likely to succeed. And so this is exactly why we're going to be imagining what it's going to be like to feel confident when it comes to money, what it's going to feel like to feel organized, to be organized when it comes to money, and what it's going to be like to feel what it's going to feel like to be calm and at peace when it comes to money. And so this is going to be your homework as we get to the point where we're wrapping up. This is going to be your homework, and I really, really want you to take this seriously. I'm going to be doing this homework as well myself, because like I say, I'm also on this journey of revamp myself too, ahead of 2022. I want you to imagine, close your eyes and imagine who is involved, who are the stakeholders, who are the people that you're actually here for, because I want to believe that, yes, in part, you're here for yourself, but maybe there are other people that are involved in this dream of you being financially confident, organized, secure. Is it your parents, for example? Is it your siblings? Is it your children? Is it your spouse? Is it an organization that you hold close to your heart? Is it children in different parts of the world that you have a heart for? Is it women in places where they are downtrodden, who need help? Who are the people involved in this dream of yours when it comes to being financially confident, having that peace, having that flexibility that we talked about? And I want you to really think about and imagine what becomes possible. What becomes possible when you are confident when it comes to your money? What becomes possible when you're organized? What becomes possible when you know what money, how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, where you have, where you don't feel that guilt that comes upon you because of your spending habits? Is it a better relationship with your children? Is it a better relationship with your spouse? Is it a better relationship with your friends, right? What becomes possible when your money and your finances are now in order? Then I want you to project into the future, because again, we're looking at the destination, we're looking at where we're going. Where will you be? Where will you be physically? Where will you be? Will you still be working at your job? Will you be retired? Will you be owning your own business? Will you be in a different country, right? Here in Canada, things are getting cold and dark. Yes, everybody's favorite time of the year. So will you be somewhere else? Will you be on an island somewhere? Or will you be in Nigeria? Will you be in Zambia? Will you be in South Africa? Will you be in Japan? Is there somewhere else in the world that you will be once you get to the point where you feel confident and secure with your finances? Then when is the target? What date are you putting on this dream of yours? What year, what month even are you putting on this dream of yours? How far in the future, into the future, are we talking about? Are we talking about 6 months from now, where your money is organized, where you have a structure to your expenses, to your spending? Are we talking about a year from now? Maybe you've increased your streams of income and now you're earning more. Are we talking about 2 years from now, when you've paid off all your debt? When are we targeting? What year are we targeting? And now I want you to really think about this and really think about the detail of what is at stake. How much is at stake? And maybe you can't put a monetary value on this, or maybe you can, right? Maybe there are relationships right now that are shaky. Maybe there's tension between you and somebody else right now because of the current state of your finances. Maybe it's your children's education that's at stake right now. Maybe you have dreams to send them to a particular school, but because of the way things are financially, whether it's your habits, whether it's your income, whatever that might be, what is the price of not acting on your money right now? What is the price? What do you have to lose at this point? How much is at stake? And I believe that when you go through this process, maybe before you go to bed tonight, maybe when you wake up tomorrow morning and you start to really think deeply and imagine and light up those parts of your brain that make this feel as if it has already come true, right? That you will start to see possibilities. And believe me, this happens a lot, especially when I'm working with women and we actually sit down and go through this. We go through their dreams and their goals. They start to see possibilities. They start to see options. They start to see doors that they've never really explored. And so I want you to really take this seriously, because you'll be surprised at how you might really start to maybe get answers or solutions to some of the questions that you may have had up until now. So I'm going to check the chat. Lucia says, Maui, I am there with you. I'm there with you in Maui. Now, it's important to dream. It's important to visualize and to imagine and to really think about the possibilities. But it's also, I would strongly encourage you to write this down. One exercise that I love to do with the women I work with is I actually get them to write a letter from their 80-year-old self. And God willing, we will all make it to 80 and we will live beyond that. To actually write down, what is your 80-year-old self telling you in this moment? What is your 80-year-old self telling your 2021 self? What are the things that she has accomplished? What are the things she's thanking you for? Right? Because of course, the things that you're doing now are not only for yourself in this moment, but also for yourself in the future. What is she thanking you for? What are the possibilities that became of you making the decision that you made today to join this boot camp? Where is she? Where is she at 70 years from now? Well, what am I saying? Not 70 years. Where is she 50 years from now, 40 years from now? Is she in Maui, like Lucia? Is she in Maui? And what were the things that were at stake today that you were able to put back together, that you were able to reconcile, that you were able to fix because of the decisions that you made? And so this is another way of actually detailing that dream, not only visually, but in the form of a letter. And I encourage you to write that letter and actually keep it and refer back to it from time to time. It will make for a very, very interesting read. So please excuse my typo. That should say dignity. But this is a quote taken directly from, this is actually one of my favorite scriptures. As a Christian, I base a lot of in fact, I'll just tell you the story of how I started talking about money in the first place. And it was because one day I read the Proverbs, the Proverbs 31, the part of Proverbs 31 that talks about this amazing woman. Maybe you've heard of her, maybe you haven't, but she's this woman who for some reason just seems to have it all together. I always say that my relationship with her was always kind of complicated. I was inspired by her, but also a little jealous and a little annoyed with her, because I'm like, how can one woman have it all together like this? But she was the type of woman who had multiple streams of income. The scripture talks about how she invested her money, how she would plant a vineyard, and then she would profit off of that and then reinvest that money. The scripture talks about how she was a planner, right? How her lamp, back in the day, they used to use lamps, right, to work at night. They didn't have electricity. And so she was the kind of person that her lamp never went out at night. So that meant that she planned ahead. She took care of her household. She gave to the poor, right? It was just so amazing. And I'm like, this woman, but the crux of it for me at the time was, okay, she was an entrepreneur. She, not only that, she was about her money, right? She was about her money. She didn't just make money and then was sort of wishy-washy about it. She actually did work and she had multiple streams of income. I could probably count at least 5 streams of income. If she was not making clothing, she was into real estate, right? There were other things that she was doing, right? And so for me, that was my inspiration. And I thought, if she could do it, then I can do it too. I have no excuse whatsoever. And when we're talking about dreaming now, right, this Proverbs 30 woman is clothed in strength and dignity. And for me, the best part about this particular verse is she laughs without fear of the future. She laughs without fear of the future. This is what I want for myself, and this is what I want for you too, where you can look to the future and laugh, and you're not stressed, you're not worried, you're not waking up in the middle of the night with that tightness in your chest. You can actually sleep easy at night and laugh without fear of the future. And so we have come to the end of day 1. I promised not to keep you too long, but I really hope I've sort of sparked your imagination a little bit. And like I say, one of the questions that I asked at the beginning was, why you? Some of you may already be thinking that, Yoandi, what you're saying is way above me. Maybe for you, yes, of course, you're a doctor. Yes, of course, you can get it. And you're already counting yourself out. I want you to understand that, first of all, it's not about how much money you make, because believe me, there are many doctors and high income earners who aren't able to get their act together when it comes to their money. If you're earning $300,000 a year and you're spending $350,000 a year, you're broke, right? It has nothing to do with how much you're earning. It's really how you're managing that money. It's how you're managing that money down to the basic level. I talked about habits. I talked about consistency. And so please don't get overwhelmed by these big dreams that you have. Know that you already have the tools available to go from where you are to where you want to be. And I am honored to be that person that will guide you. I don't have all the answers, but I also know how to pull out the answers from you. And so I call myself an educator. I call myself a guide. And I'm just honored to be on this journey right alongside with you today. And so that's the end of our session today. Please, please, please be sure to do your homework. I will send a list of the questions in an email tonight. I'll send a list of the questions in an email tonight. So please spend some time thinking about where you want to be, what your destination is, really detail it, design it, and we will pick up from where we left off tomorrow. Are there any questions? You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. You're welcome. You're welcome. Irene, you're welcome. Quinta, Eniola, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Chica, you're welcome. You're welcome, Lala. Wow. Lala, are you awake? My goodness. You're welcome. Lucia, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Honestly, Ufama, thank you for coming. I don't take your time for granted. And I will see you tomorrow. Okay. Well done. Yeah, everyone in Nigeria who came, everyone in the UK who came, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. And I'll see you tomorrow. All right, ladies. Bye. Oh, Thelma, you used the wrong time zone. Oh, sorry. I recorded it, so I will definitely send out the replay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care, dear.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. This is what I'm looking for. Okay. Bye, everybody.